In the 2025 NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks lucked out, ending up with the first overall pick and drafting themselves Cooper Flagg. Now they have a young franchise player to build this team around going into the future, so I've decided that today I'm trading every single player on the Dallas Mavericks roster except for the man himself, Cooper the Hooper. And we're going to start this video off with a banger trade with the Charlotte Hornets, where we send them Anthony Davis and Max Christie, in return getting ourselves LaMelo Ball to be the brand new starting point guard paired up with Cooper Flagg. We also get Miles Bridges, who we probably will trade away right after this. The next trade we're going to be pulling off is with the Indiana Pacers, where we send them Kyrie Irving and PJ Washington. In return, we get ourselves Pascal Siakam and Aaron Nesmith. Nesmith is a good 3-and-D player, and Pascal Siakam has championship experience. He's a veteran, and he can mentor Cooper Flagg. So let's go ahead and pull off this trade. I'm a pretty big fan of this trade here with the Utah Jazz, where we send them Derek Lively II and Jaden Hardy. In return, we get ourselves Walker Kessler, who's one of the best rim protectors. He's a good rebounder, and he can score when we need him to. Let's go ahead and pull off this trade. The next trade we're pulling off is with the Atlanta Hawks, where we end up with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, sending them Miles Bridges and Dwight Powell. Nickeil Alexander-Walker could either be our 6th man or our starting shooting guard. He's a really good two-way player, so let's go ahead and pull off this trade as well. I've now thrown Daniel Gafford and Najee Marshall in Trade Finder, and the trade I like most is this trade here with the Phoenix Suns, where we would get ourselves Mark Williams to be our backup center. And we also get Royce O'Neal, who's a really good 3-point shooter. He can defend, and plus we do need ourselves a backup wing. The only problem is I don't want to throw in this swap worst first round pick, but honestly I don't mind it, so let's go ahead and pull off this trade. I want to see if we can get ourselves Andrew Nembhard to be our backup point guard. I did change Klay Thompson's position from shooting guard to small forward, where he's gone up to 80 overall, so hopefully this trade goes through, and they do decline. They want our first round pick, and honestly, sure, let's go ahead and pull off this trade. I don't want TJ McConnell, so let's see if we could just pull off a trade with Klay Thompson and our first round pick in return for Andrew Nembhard, and the Indiana Pacers accept. And now we have ourselves a few players left to trade. I'm going to be trading away Brennan Williams and D'Angelo Russell to the Boston Celtics, where we get ourselves Jordan Walsh. I got Jordan Walsh in my last video, and he's actually a really good backup power forward. He's a good 3-point shooter and a pretty good defender. And now so far, this is what our 9-man rotation is looking like, but it looks like we still have a few more players to trade, and let's see which players those are. So we have Dante left to trade, or wait, didn't we just acquire Dante? Yes, we did. So we still have Caleb Martin and Dante Exum left. I would like to acquire ourselves a first round pick in case we need to pull off a trade in the coming off season or at the trade deadline. So I'm going to pull off this trade with the Houston Rockets, where we send them Exum and Caleb Martin, in return getting ourselves Steven Adams and a 2029 first round swap best. The last player on our roster, Ryan Nembhard, he was on a 2-way contract, but I changed that to a regular contract, and now we're trading him to the San Antonio Spurs, where we get ourselves a first round pick in Bismack Biyombo, but obviously he's not going to be part of our rotation. I'm more so pulling this off to acquire ourselves a first round pick. And no, I did not forget about Jason Kidd. We're going to go ahead and fire him and bring in a new head coach. Let me see which head coach would make the most sense. I do believe Frank Vogel should be here somewhere. He is currently our assistant head coach, but I'm going to go ahead and offer him a contract and bring him in, which he accepts. And now we've officially traded every single player except for Cooper Flagg on the Dallas Mavericks roster. The new 9-man rotation will be LaMelo Ball, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Cooper Flagg, Pascal Siakam, and Walker Kessler. And then off the bench we have Andrew Nembhard, Mark Williams, Aaron Nesmith, and Royce O'Neal. Andrew Nembhard was listed at the point guard position, but of course I changed that over and moved him to be our starting shooting guard, where he's gone up to 84 overall. And somehow I accidentally simulated the first game against the Golden State Warriors, which we did end up losing 116-27, but LaMelo Ball in his Mavericks debut dropped 29 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists, whereas Cooper Flagg with his new teammates dropped 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. The next game is up against the LA Lakers. Let's see if we're able to defeat them, which we do end up losing once again, 126 to 139. Pascal Siakam dropped 30 points, Cooper Flagg had 24, and LaMelo with 19. Can we end up defeating the Bucks? And yes, we can. So we end up winning our first game with a brand new roster, 119 to 100, where Pascal Siakam dropped 24 points, Kessler with 20 and 10, Cooper Flagg had himself 17, and LaMelo Ball had 12. Also, I would really appreciate it if y'all could take a quick second out of your time to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you're new. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so please hit that subscribe button. Let's take a look at the system proficiency. So it looks like we're rolling with a 3.5-star overall system proficiency balanced under Frank Vogel. I'm stopped here at the trade deadline and I want to see how this team does, so I won't be pulling off any more trades. I do believe we have the potential to turn things around. We are currently the number 11 seed with 22 wins and 29 losses. Let's see if we're going to be able to make the playoffs. At the end of this season, Nikola Jokic goes on to win MVP. Cooper Flagg wins Rookie of the Year, averaging 19 points per game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, shooting 48% from the field. Santi Aldama, 6-man, Wemby ends up winning Defensive Player, Quetta Most Improved, Desmond Bain, Clutch Player, Chris Finch Coach of the Year, and the Mavericks, we win Executive of the Year, even though we shouldn't have, and I'll show you guys why in a second. I don't know if we're going to have any All-NBA selections, and it looks like we do not. We don't get anyone on All-Defensive Team either, and we did not make the playoffs. We didn't even make the play-in tournament. We ended up winning 35 games and losing 47, so it looks like things did not go as planned. Perhaps we should have kept our first round pick that we traded away to the Indiana Pacers, because now that's going to end up being a lottery pick. Let me show you guys what our players were doing here in the regular season. So the leading scorer on our team was Pascal Siakam, averaging 22, and then we had LaMelo, who was averaging 20, and then Cooper Flagg was averaging 19 points per game. We did have a lot of players here in double-digit scoring, but we did not have one player that could take over in those clutch moments when we need him to. I thought Pascal Siakam could have been that player, but sadly he was not. And LaMelo Ball's efficiency wasn't the best towards the second half of the season. It did get better, but again, we did not have that takeover player. So this coming off season, I will be pulling off some more trades, but let's go ahead and simulate these playoffs and see who goes on to win a championship. And it looks like Anthony Edwards wins Western Conference Finals MVP, Jalen Brunson, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. We have the Timberwolves taking on the New York Knicks, and the Timberwolves go on to win with Anthony Edwards winning Finals MVP, averaging 37 points per game. And the Indiana Pacers end up with the 7th overall pick thanks to us. Perhaps I should have made that a lottery protected first round pick, but now it is what it is. I've thrown Pascal Siakam in Trade Finder, and I just found ourselves a pretty interesting trade. A trade with the Houston Rockets that would land us Jabari Smith Jr. to be our brand new starting power forward. He is only 23 years old, which means he's only going to continue getting better. This past season, he was averaging 14 points per game. He's a pretty good defender and a really good three-point shooter. I believe we're going to pull off this trade and bring Jabari Smith Jr. in to pair up with our young core. And for team player options, I will be picking up the team option on Jordan Walsh, and then we're going to let these two players walk. I'm not sure if we need to re-sign anyone, so it does look like we need to re-sign both of our big men, Walker Kessler and Mark Williams, and I would like to bring both of them back. We do have bird rights on both Walker Kessler and Mark Williams, plus they're both restricted free agents, which means we'll be able to re-sign them no matter what. Walker Kessler wants about $17 million. I am going to try and lower that down to about 15 if possible, or 15.25 annually. And then let's see how much Mark Williams wants. He wants about $10 million. We should be able to lower that down to hopefully $9 million, and it looks like $9 million won't work, but we should be able to do 9.25. Both of them end up accepting on a 4-year contract. We still have Steven Adams and Clint Capella on our team, but we don't need them around since they won't be a part of our rotation. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and trade both of them for first round picks, and there we go. We get ourselves one lottery protected first round pick, and then I'll do the same with Clint Capella. Here we are at the start of this season with our brand new 9-man rotation. In our starting lineup, we're going to have ourselves LaMelo Ball, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Cooper Flagg, Jabari Smith Jr., and Walker Kessler. And then off the bench, we have Andrew Nembhard, Mark Williams, Aaron Nesmith, and Jordan Walsh. And there was a lot of progression from our younger core. LaMelo Ball is now our highest overall player at a 90, and Cooper Flagg has went up to an 89 overall. Hopefully that helps us out this season in winning more games. Let's see how we do here in the first few games of the season. Our first game is up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who we end up defeating 133 to 130. Let's go. LaMelo Ball had 27 points and 17 assists, whereas Cooper Flagg dropped 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. Can we also win the next 2 games of this week? Let's see what happens. We also end up defeating the Milwaukee Bucks 121 to 116, and Mark Williams led the way with 18 points. Almost every single player on our team was in double-digit scoring. Let's see if we can go 3 of 3, but we do end up losing to the San Antonio Spurs sadly 141 to 147. Flagg did drop 33, LaMelo had a double-double, but sadly that was not enough. And for this season, we will be rolling with a 4-star overall system proficiency balance under Frank Vogel. Last time around it was at 3.5 stars, so clearly we did get a little bit better. Now I'm going to start simulating here until the trade deadline. At the end of this season, Victor Wembanyama goes on to win MVP, Darren Peterson wins Rookie of the Year, Murray 6-Man, Wemby also wins Defensive Player, Paolo Banchero Most Improved, Devin Booker Clutch Player, JB Bickerstaff Coach of the Year, and we end up winning Executive of the Year. We do get ourselves LaMelo Ball on All NBA First Team. Let's go. It does look like we also get Cooper Flagg on All NBA Third Team. That is what I'm talking about. We don't get anyone on an All Defensive Team, but that was alright because we ended this season being the number 1 seed, winning a total of 63 games and losing only 19. We had ourselves a phenomenal season, but let's take a look at the player stats before we start simulating here in the playoffs. The leading scorer on our team was Cooper Flagg, averaging 25 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 54% from the field. Then we had LaMelo Ball playing amazing as our point guard, averaging 24 points per game as well as 12 assists on 50, 40, 85 shooting splits. 17 from Jabari Smith Jr., 12 from Williams, 12 from Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and a few more players in double-digit scoring. Now in the first round of the playoffs, we're going to be taking on the Los Angeles Clippers, who have themselves Colin Sexton, Austin Reeves, Kawhi Leonard, Tobias Harris, and Zubac, and this is their bench unit. Let's see how things go here. Game number 1 will go to us, where LaMelo Ball drops a 34-point double-double, Jabari Smith with a 33-point double-double, and Cooper Flagg with a 20-point double-double. Let's go. We also end up winning game 2, and LaMelo Ball has been balling out so far, dropping 39 points and 10 assists. Cooper Flagg had himself 18, 8, and 8. Can we also win the third game? Yes, we can. That is what I'm talking about. Jabari Smith just dropped 25, 21 from Nah, and Cooper Flagg dropped 19. And we end up sweeping the Los Angeles Clippers to make it to the second round of the playoffs. So far, Cooper Flagg is averaging 20 points per game, LaMelo Ball is averaging 27, and let's see how Jabari's been doing. He's been balling out 24 points per game on 44% from the 3-point line. Now in the second round of the playoffs, it looks like we're going to be taking on the defending MVP and the San Antonio Spurs. So they have themselves, of course, Victor Wembanyama, Rob Will, Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, and De'Aaron Fox, as well as Dylan Harper coming off of their bench. This is definitely going to be a hard challenge here, but let's see what happens. Game number 1 will end up going to us, Cooper with 31 and Ball with 27. Let's go. We do end up losing game 2 though, sadly by 1 point. Cooper Flagg had 35, Jabari had 27, and LaMelo had 15, but sadly that was not enough. We do end up winning game 3, LaMelo with 37 and Cooper with 18 and 10. Let's go. Hopefully we're also able to win this next game, which we do end up losing sadly by more than 30 points. I've come up with a defensive coach game plan. Let's see what happens here. We will jump into Simcast for game 5, where we will have home court advantage on our side. So far we do have the lead, but it's not by all that much. We are up here by 7 points, 3:55 remaining, and it goes to overtime and we end up losing by 10 points. I don't know how we allowed that, but somehow we did. Cooper played amazing, but our defense in this game was horrible. We're now in a winner-go-home situation. Let's see what happens here, and the Spurs do have home court advantage on their side. So far, we do have the lead, but of course, they tie up the game going into the fourth quarter, and we have the lead by 4 points, 2 minutes remaining. Let's slow this down and see what happens. And thankfully, we do end up winning by 4 points. Jabari Smith Jr. dropped 21, Cooper had 18, and Melo was 16 points and 11 assists. How was our defense? Wemby was still bowling out, 9 of 14 from the field, but we did play really well defense here on De'Aaron Fox, holding him to 6 of 15. Both teams are now in a winner-go-home situation. We have to win this game. Let's see which team will be going home and which team will be going to the conference finals. Thankfully, we do have home court advantage on our side here for Game 7. Let's see what happens. In the first half, we do have the lead, and it looks like we will be winning this game by 13 points. And Jabari dropped 38 points and 10 rebounds. He saved us big time, shooting 15 of 17 from the field. Cooper had 32, and LaMelo had 17 points and 20 assists. That is what I'm talking about. It looks like in the conference finals we will be taking on the Golden State Warriors, who have themselves Brennan Pajemski, Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, and Draymond Green, and this is their bench unit. Looks like they were the number 3 seed. Can we defeat them or not? It looks like they did take out the OKC Thunder and the Phoenix Suns, so I won't take this team lightly at all. Game number 1 does end up going to the Golden State Warriors. They end up winning here 119 to 111. I was not expecting that, but again, as I said, I won't take this team lightly whatsoever. They did defeat the OKC Thunder. Game number 2 also ends up going to the Golden State Warriors. Okay, so this team is actually doing really well here against us. Cooper had 27, but sadly that was not enough, and I will come up with a defensive coach game plan before we advance to Game 3. I've decided to come up with a defensive coach game plan. Let's see if that's going to help us win these next few games. We did lose both games at home court, which means the Warriors will have the next 2 home court advantages, and let's see what happens. And so far, the Warriors do have the lead, but we do push back and take it from them. We're up by 6 points going with 2 minutes remaining, and thankfully we end up winning by 14 points where Cooper dropped 39, LaMelo with 18 points and 19 assists. Time for Game 4. Let's see what happens here. Again, the Warriors will have home court advantage, and we do start off the first quarter strong, but it's a pretty close game, and we are starting to run away with it here in the fourth quarter, and we end up tying up the series. LaMelo dropped 38 points and 14 assists. Where is Cooper? Looks like Cooper kind of did struggle offensively, shooting only 2 of 13, but that's alright because we still got the win. Now hopefully we can go up 3-2. I do believe we can. We will have home court advantage on our side, and so far the Warriors have the lead, and it looks like they will end up winning by 11 points. Oh god. They have home court advantage for this next game. Can we tap the series and push to a Game 7? And no, we cannot. We get eliminated in the conference finals to the Golden State Warriors. Cooper had 25, LaMelo played amazing as well, but it looks like our defense was not all there. We did hold Curry to 5 of 15 shooting, but he still had 12 free throws, and Jimmy Butler had 11. Steph Curry wins Western Conference Finals MVP, Cade Cunningham Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and in the NBA Finals, it's the Detroit Pistons taking on the Golden State Warriors, and the Warriors go on to win a championship. Let's go. Looks like Jimmy Butler wins Finals MVP, averaging 31 points per game. I believe this is the first time I've seen the Warriors win a championship in 2K Simulation, unless I've rebuilt them obviously. But other than when I'm not rebuilding them, I have never seen the Warriors win a championship in 2K Simulation. Let me show you guys the player stats before we go into the offseason. I will most definitely be pulling off some more trades and upgrading this roster because clearly we are still not championship contenders. In the playoffs, we played a total of 17 games, and in those 17 games, Cooper Flagg was the leading scorer, averaging 25 points per game. Then we have LaMelo averaging a 22-point double-double, 19 from Jabari, 14 from Nickel, and 11 from Walker Kessler. We're here in the offseason and I'm attempting to pull off a trade with the Boston Celtics where we would land ourselves Derek White. And personally, Derek White is one of my favorite two-way players in the entire NBA. I do believe having him as our starting shooting guard should be able to get us over this hump. I'm offering the Celtics Nickel Alexander-Walker. We probably will have to throw in some first round picks, which I'm okay with. We did end up with the 19th overall pick and the 28th in the 2027 NBA draft. I would be open to throwing in maybe 1 or 2 first round picks. Let's go ahead and offer them their own first rounder. The Celtics first round pick swap best, and they do decline. 1 more first round pick is all I'm willing to give up. Let's see what they say. And they still decline. Okay. What if we throw in some 2 second round picks, gets it done, and we acquire ourselves Derek White as our brand new starting shooting guard. And I believe getting ourselves a new head coach will be the best option. We gave Frank Vogel 2 seasons and he wasn't really able to do much in the playoffs. So I'm going to go ahead and fire Frank Vogel and let's see which head coach we can get. So there is Jason Kidd, but we already had him. I'm going to go ahead and offer Joe Mazzulla a contract. I believe he could be a really good head coach here. Hopefully he ends up accepting. And it looks like Joe Mazzulla ends up accepting our contract, which means he's going to be our brand new head coach. The Atlanta Hawks have the 13th overall pick. I'm offering them 2 first rounders to see if we can move up in the 27 NBA draft, and let's see what they say. They do decline. What if we throw in a future second rounder? That gets it done. Now it's time for the 2027 NBA draft. Let's see which player we're going to be drafting with the 13th overall pick. Who has the first overall pick? And it is the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's see who they take. They take Tyrone Stokes. That's an amazing pick for this team. The Houston Rockets have the 2nd overall pick and they take Christian Collins. The Utah Jazz have the 3rd and 4th overall pick. Okay. It looks like they will be trading it away to the Atlanta Hawks for Dyson Daniels and a 2nd round pick. The Hawks go on to take Dylan Mingo. Let's go ahead and simulate to our pick and see which player we'll be able to select here. It does look like there are some pretty good options, but let me look around and see which player would make the most sense. I've thought pretty long and hard, and honestly, all of the rookies left on the board can't really help us win now. They're more of a project that we're going to have to develop, and we don't have that time because we're trying to contend now with Cooper Flagg. So I'm going to be trading away the 13th overall pick as well as Mark Williams to the Oklahoma City Thunder, where we get ourselves Isaiah Hartenstein and the 2028 first round pick from the Denver Nuggets unprotected. For team player options, of course, we're going to pick up the team option on Cooper Flagg. Do we need to re-sign anyone? It looks like we don't have to re-sign anybody, thankfully. We do have most of our players locked up on long-term contracts. Never mind, we do have to re-sign Jordan Walsh. Let me see if there's any better power forward, and there is. We can get ourselves Michael Porter Jr. Holy, for only $7 million. We have Josh Hart, Dylan Brooks. There's a lot of good options here. Instead of re-signing Jordan Walsh, who wants about $7 million, we can get ourselves Josh Hart, who wants $2 million less. Andrew Wiggins is also here, and signing either one of these 2 players will definitely help us take us one step closer to being championship contenders. I'm going to go ahead and offer Josh Hart a 4-year contract, paying him about $7.25 million, and it looks like he will be accepting on a 4-year, $31 million contract. And here we are at the start of this season with our brand new 9-man rotation. I believe this is going to be the season we end up winning ourselves a championship. Cooper Flagg has gone up to a 94 overall. LaMelo Ball's a 92. There was a lot of progression from our younger core. In our starting lineup, we have ourselves LaMelo Ball, Derek White, Cooper Flagg, Jabari Smith Jr., and Walker Kessler. Then off the bench, we have Andrew Nembhard, Isaiah Hartenstein, Josh Hart, and Aaron Nesmith. Plus, we also have ourselves a new head coach. Let's go ahead and simulate the first few games of this season and see how we do. The first game is up against the Sacramento Kings, who we end up defeating 114-105, where Cooper dropped 32 points. LaMelo with 29 and 11, and Jabari Smith Jr. with 23. The next 2 games are up against the Utah Jazz. We should be able to defeat them, and we do defeat them in 1 game but lose in the second. The first game, we scored 155 points, where LaMelo dropped 45 and 13, Cooper had 33. And so far, Cooper Flagg's averaging 33 points per game. I do believe this could be a MVP season for Cooper. Let's take a look at the system proficiency. We're going to be rolling with a 4.5-star overall system proficiency balanced under Joe Mazzulla. This season, we end up winning the NBA Cup, and LaMelo Ball goes on to win NBA Cup MVP, averaging 29 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 10 assists on 50, 40, 80 shooting splits. We took on the Orlando Magic, where Cooper Flagg dropped 34 points, Jabari had 30, and LaMelo with 24, 8, and 10. We have one game remaining of this season, and we have two players in the award races to winning MVP. Those two players are LaMelo Ball and Cooper Flagg, who's averaging 32 points per game this season. Let's see which one of the two will end up winning MVP, and it goes to our boy LaMelo Ball, winning his first ever MVP, averaging 27 points per game, 5 rebounds, 12 assists, 1.5 steal on 50, 40, 89 shooting splits. He had himself a phenomenal season, and so did Cooper Flagg. Tyron Stokes wins Rookie of the Year, Jalen Johnson 6th Man, Victor Wembanyama Defensive Player, Wilson Most Improved, Anthony Edwards Clutch Player, Joe Mazzulla, our head coach, wins Coach of the Year, and we also end up winning Executive of the Year. We do get ourselves LaMelo Ball and Cooper Flagg both on All NBA First Team. Let's see if we have any more selections, and it looks like we don't. We don't get anyone here on All Defensive Team either, which is kind of a surprise because we did have some really good defenders on our team. But we ended this season being the number 1 seed, winning a total of 76 games and losing only 6. And our team has just set the most wins by an NBA team in a regular season with 76 wins. Let's go. Let me show you guys the player stats before we start simulating the playoffs. The leading scorer on our team was, of course, Cooper Flagg, who had himself an MVP caliber season, averaging 32 points per game, 7 rebounds, 4.5 assists, shooting 57% from the field and nearly 40% from the 3-point line. And then we had our MVP LaMelo Ball averaging a 27-point double-double. Jabari was averaging 19 points per game, shooting 44% from the 3-point line. Derek White was averaging 15, and then 11 points per game from Andrew Nembhard as our 6th man. Now in the first round of the playoffs, it looks like we're taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have themselves Dillingham, Anthony Edwards, McDaniels, Julius Randle, and Naz Reid, as well as Rudy Gobert coming off of their bench. Game number 1 does end up going to us, where LaMelo drops 32 points, 11 assists, and Cooper had himself a 26-point double-double. We also end up winning game 2, this time once again LaMelo leading the way with 31, Cooper with 30. Let's go. We probably have the best duo in the entire NBA. We have an MVP, 2 MVP caliber players in LaMelo Ball and Cooper Flagg. Game 3 will also end up going to us. We win this game by just 1 point. LaMelo with a 34-point double-double, Cooper Flagg dropping 24 points. Are we going to sweep the Timberwolves? And yes, we do. Just like that, we've made it to the second round of the playoffs. So far, our MVP is averaging 30 points per game, 10 assists. Cooper Flagg is averaging 29 points per game, 8 rebounds. Now it looks like in the second round of the playoffs, we will be taking on the Defensive Player of the Year, Victor Wembanyama, and his team. They still have De'Aaron Fox, who's now a 90 overall, Stephon Castle, who's a 90 overall, and it looks like Dylan Harper as their 6th man, who's also a 90 overall. That means they have 4 90 overall players, whereas we only have 2. Let's see what happens here. Game 1 will go to us, and Cooper the Hooper with 50 points. Let's go. LaMelo with 26 and Derek White with 20. And so far, Derek White has been playing amazing as well. Game number 2 also goes to us. Cooper with a back-to-back 50-point game, this time dropping 51 points. That is what I'm talking about. Game 3, we also end up winning. Cooper with 32, 25 from Jabari. A bunch of players here in double-digit scoring, and we go on to sweep the San Antonio Spurs. Cooper Flagg dropped 41 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. And just like that, we've made it to the conference finals, where we're going to be taking on the Golden State Warriors. So last playoffs, it was the Golden State Warriors winning the NBA championship, and this time they make the conference finals. And it looks like they got themselves Kevin Durant paired up with Stephen Curry once again. Okay, so they have themselves Steph Curry, Moses Moody, Kevin Durant, Jonathan Kuminga, and Robert Williams III. And this is their bench unit. Let's see how things go here. Game number 1 will end up going to the Warriors. Okay, so last time they defeated us in the conference finals. Hopefully that does not happen again. And they also win game 2. What is it with this team? For some reason, we haven't been able to defeat the Golden State Warriors. In the regular season, they didn't even beat us once, but here in the playoffs, they are giving us trouble. I've now come up with a defensive coach game plan, also changed up some player shot tendencies. Hopefully that helps us win this next game, where the Golden State Warriors will have home court advantage. And we do start off the first half really strong. Let's go. It does look like the defensive coach game plan worked, and we held them to 103 points. Whereas we scored 157. LaMelo had himself a 38-point triple-double, and Cooper Flagg also had 38 points. We did end up holding Curry to 7 of 22 shooting. All we gotta do is win one more game to tie up this series, and it looks like the Warriors will have home court advantage again, and yes, they do. But thankfully, we do start off the first half really strong. It looks like we will be tying up this series. Let's go. Cooper just dropped 34. LaMelo with the 20-point double-double, Jabari with 20 as well. Curry and KD both played amazing, but thankfully we were able to play better offense than them. Now we have home court advantage here for game 5. Can we also win this game? And it looks like the Warriors are up by 6 points, 6 minutes remaining, and they may be winning this game unless we come and play clutch. 133 remaining, they're up by 2 points. We tie up the game and take the lead. It looks like we will be winning this game by 10 points. I don't know how we outscored them by 10 points with 1 minute remaining, but somehow we did. Cooper had a 33-point double-double and 23 from LaMelo Ball. And now all we gotta do is win one more game. We'll be going to the NBA Finals, where the Celtics await either us or the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors have home court advantage here, and so far we do have the lead. Let's see what happens. It looks like we will be going to the NBA Finals, defeating the Golden State Warriors by 6 points, where Cooper dropped 27 points to LaMelo with a 22-point double-double. LaMelo Ball wins Western Conference Finals MVP, averaging a 25-point double-double, and Jason Tatum, Eastern Conference Finals MVP for the Boston Celtics. And would you look at that, it looks like the Nickeil Alexander-Walker trade actually helped out the Boston Celtics just as much as the Derek White trade helped us out. They have themselves Peyton Pritchard, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Isaiah Stewart. This is their bench unit. Let's see what happens here. Game number 1 does go to the Boston Celtics. They scored 153 points on us, and Jason Tatum has been bowling out here in the playoffs. I believe we need to come up with a defensive coach game plan if we lose one more game, but thankfully we do end up winning game 2, where Cooper dropped 44 points, LaMelo with 33. Game 3 will also end up going to us. We scored 153 this time around, Cooper with 36, 34 from Jabari, 21 points and 20 assists from LaMelo Ball. Let's go, that is what I'm talking about. We do end up losing game 4, and they now tie up the series. Cooper had 29 and 11. In the last series, I did change our starting center position. Isaiah Hartenstein has been starting. Maybe I will change that back to Walker Kessler being our starting center. I've now come up with the defensive coach game plan. Walker Kessler is back in our starting lineup. Let's see if we can win game 5. We will have home court advantage on our side. We do have the lead so far, but they are pushing back here in the second half. Let's slow this down and see what happens. It's a back and forth battle here. We do have the lead, 5 minutes remaining. Can we secure this win? 3 minutes remaining, we're up by 4. We are kind of starting to run away with it, but it still is a pretty close game. It looks like it's going to overtime. Okay, so it goes to overtime, and now they're up by 4 points. We take the lead, we're up by 1. Oh god, now they're up by 1. We take the lead once again, we're up by 2. Please, let's secure this win, and we do end up winning by 2 points. Cooper had himself 40 points, Jabari Smith Jr. with 38 points and 14 rebounds, LaMelo with a 23-point double-double. And another thing I forgot to mention, this is basically a revenge arc for Derek White. He's going back up against his former team. Another thing, we also have their previous head coach. Where is he? There he is. Joe Mazzulla is now our head coach, whereas before he was the Boston Celtics. So they're both going for revenge. Let's see if they can complete it. We don't have home court advantage for this game, but we do have the lead. Going into the fourth quarter, we're up by 3 points, 2:55 remaining, another close game. Majority of these games have been pretty close with the Celtics. Now that we're up by 2 points, let's go. We do end up winning by 2 points, 135 to 133. They almost came back there in the second half, but thankfully the 51 points we scored in the second quarter was enough to secure us this win. Flagg dropped 33 points. He did end up fouling out in 29 minutes, which is why it was probably a really close game. LaMelo had a 29-point double-double, 16 from Derek White, 16 and 10 from Isaiah Hartenstein. And just like that, we've won Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks a championship, with Flagg winning Finals MVP, averaging 37 points per game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, and 2 steals, shooting nearly 60% from the field. That was an amazing playoffs run. I gotta say, I was pretty nervous there in the conference finals and in the finals. It was a pretty close call, but thankfully we were able to win in game 6. And before I end out this video, let me show you guys the player stats for the playoffs, where we played a total of 20 games. The leading scorer was none other than Cooper the Hooper, averaging 35 points per game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block on 56% from the field. And then we had ourselves LaMelo Ball averaging a 26-point double-double, and this duo was absolutely unstoppable. Imagine if this happens in real life. LaMelo joining the Dallas Mavericks would be a movie. 19 from Jabari, 13.5 from Derek White, 11 from Isaiah Hartenstein, 11 from Andrew Nembhard, and 10 from Walker Kessler. Now in the NBA Finals, where we played a total of 6 games, the leading scorer was Flagg, averaging 37 points per game. Holy, almost 40 points per game. 24 and 12 from LaMelo, and 22 from Jabari Smith Jr. Now that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button, and also subscribe if you're new for more NBA 2K26 videos. That really does support on my channel a ton. And click here on the screen to watch my latest upload. Until next time, it's your boy Dragon, and I'm out. Peace.